glances, behind delays, behind unfinished sentences, is moving toward a real moment now. Not a vague text, not another half-clear sign that leaves you guessing. This feels closer than that. It feels like two people standing in the same air, with truth too full to keep hiding. An emotional face-to-face conversation is approaching, and this conversation does not feel small. It feels like the kind of moment where eyes say something before words do, where the voice shakes because the heart is finally tired of carrying everything alone, where one honest sentence changes the whole atmosphere between two people. The first card appearing here is the Ace of Swords. This card cuts through fog. It says something has reached a point where it needs clarity. No more guessing, no more reading between the lines and trying to survive on hints. Someone may be feeling that if they do not speak soon, the pressure inside them will only grow heavier. The Ace of Swords is truth wanting a clean path. So this face-to-face moment may come because one person can no longer live inside emotional half-light. They need to say what this is. They need to name what has been real all along. The next card appearing here is the Moon, and this is why the conversation feels so intense, because the Moon says there are feelings that have stayed hidden for too long. Fear, longing, confusion, deep emotion that never fully found the right timing or safe language. So when this person finally stands in front of you, they may not only be speaking facts, they may be opening a part of themselves that has been quiet, private, and emotionally full for a long time. This is the kind of energy where someone says, I have to be honest because the heart can no longer carry the weight of pretending. The next card appearing here is the Two of Cups. This card is beautiful because it says the conversation is not happening in an empty space. There is a real bond here, real feeling, real emotional connection. So the face-to-face moment may not be cold or distant. Even if it is emotional, it may feel charged, intimate, like something meaningful has been waiting to be spoken between you. The Two of Cups says what comes out in this conversation may confirm that the connection mattered far more than the silence ever allowed you to see. The next card appearing here is the Page of Cups. This says there may be vulnerability in the voice, a softness, a trembling honesty. They may not come in sounding perfectly composed. They may sound human, tender, a little afraid because the Page of Cups is the heart trying to speak without armor. So this person may reveal feelings in a simple way, but that simplicity may be exactly what makes it powerful. The next card appearing here is the Six of Cups. This brings memory into the conversation. Old feelings, old moments, things that never fully left the heart. This person may talk about what stayed with them, what they could not forget, the little moments that grew bigger in hindsight. The Six of Cups says this conversation may carry emotional history in it, not necessarily in a dramatic way, but in a very touching way, like someone finally admitting, that mattered to me, you mattered to me. I never stopped feeling that. The next card appearing here is the King of Cups, and this deepens everything. Because the King of Cups says the feelings behind this moment are not childish, not random, not surface level, this person may have much deeper emotion than they have shown. They may have been trying to stay calm, reasonable, contained, while carrying far more tenderness than anyone knew. The King of Cups often speaks when someone has loved quietly but seriously. The final card appearing here is Judgment. This is the awakening, the moment where truth can no longer be delayed. Judgment says this face-to-face conversation may feel destined in a strange way, like it has been building for much longer than either of you realized, because once emotional truth reaches a certain level, it starts asking for a real moment. Not another delay, not another deflection. A real moment, so the message of this reading is very clear: prepare your heart. A serious emotional conversation is getting closer. Someone may be coming towards you to speak honestly, to reveal what they have been carrying, to finally put truth where silence has been standing for too long. And there is one more layer here too. This does not feel like a shallow exchange. It feels like the kind of conversation that changes the emotional shape of everything after it happens, the kind where both people may walk away knowing more, feeling more, and no longer able to pretend the bond is simple. And once it does, the heart will not be able to hide behind distance anymore. Something deeper opens here, and this part of the reading feels like the moment where the heart can no longer keep everything behind careful eyes and controlled words. Because the first wave showed that a serious face-to-face conversation is coming, but this next wave shows what is pushing it forward. Not curiosity, not pride, not a casual need for closure, emotion, heavy emotion. Real emotion, the kind that has been sitting in the chest for too long and now needs air. The first card appearing here is the Four of Swords. This card tells me there has been a long silence before this moment. One person may have been lying awake at night, going over the same memories, the same questions, the same unfinished feelings. The Four of Swords is not emotional emptiness. It is emotion being held still. And when emotion is held still for too long, it starts pressing harder against the heart. That is part of why this conversation feels so important. It has been delayed, but it has not disappeared. The next card appearing here is the Seven of Cups. This says so much has been living in the imagination. One person may have imagined this conversation many times before it ever happens in real life. They may have pictured your face, your reaction. The moment the silence breaks, the Seven of Cups says the emotional world around this bond has been full for a while, but not yet grounded. That is why the face-to-face moment feels so necessary now. Fantasy has reached its limit. The heart wants reality. The next card appearing here is the Knight of Cups. Now the energy becomes softer, but much more direct, because the Knight of Cups is someone who does not want to keep hiding behind emotional distance forever. They may be arriving with tenderness, with words that may sound simple on the surface, but carry much deeper feeling underneath. This is the kind of energy that says, I need to talk to you, and what follows is not small, it is honest, it is heartfelt. It is the beginning of emotional truth finally coming into the room. The next card appearing here is the Eight of Cups. This card says one person may be walking away from avoidance, walking away from silence, walking away from the habit of carrying love without naming it. So this conversation may happen because someone has realized they cannot keep living in emotional half-light anymore. They cannot keep pretending distance is easier than honesty, when it clearly is not. The next card appearing here is the Queen of Cups. This is beautiful because it tells me the conversation will carry tenderness, even if tears rise, even if the voice trembles, even if things become intense. The Queen of Cups says there is real feeling here, and also real care. Someone may not want to hurt you with what they say. They may want you to understand the depth of what they have been carrying. They may want to reveal their truth gently, because your heart matters in this moment. The next card appearing here is the Tower, and this is where the reading becomes unmistakable. Because the Tower says this conversation changes something. It breaks the old emotional structure, it breaks silence, it breaks denial, it breaks the version of the connection that could still pretend nothing deeper was happening. So when this face-to-face moment arrives, it may feel like everything becomes real very quickly. Feelings that were carefully hidden may suddenly stand in full view. The Tower is not here to punish. It is here to reveal, to tear down what was false. So what is real can finally breathe. The final card appearing here is the Star, and this is the grace after the release. Because the Star says this conversation is not only emotional, it is healing, necessary, honest in a way that may finally let both hearts exhale. Relief from guessing, relief from carrying too much in silence. Relief from pretending that the bond means less than it actually does. So the message of this part becomes very clear. Prepare your heart, because this conversation may carry much more feeling than either of you expected to show. Simone has been holding this in for too long, thinking too much, feeling too much, imagining too much, and now the heart may be done waiting for the perfect moment. There is one more layer here too. Part of what makes this face-to-face exchange feel so powerful is that it may not be about one single sentence. It may be about everything that sentence unlocks: the admission, the memory, the longing, the truth of what stayed hidden. Once one honest thing is spoken, more may follow. And that is why the cards feel so alive here, because this is not surface conversation. This is emotional truth stepping into the open, asking both hearts to stop hiding. And once that happens, nothing inside the connection will feel quite the same again. After this meeting, even the silence between you may feel different, softer, true. A stronger current moves through this reading now, and this is where the heart stops rehearsing the truth in private and starts moving closer to the moment where it must be spoken out loud. Because once feelings reach a certain depth, they do not stay comfortable behind silence. They begin pressing against the chest, asking for release, asking for honesty, asking for one real meeting where the soul can finally say what the mouth has been afraid to form. The first card appearing here is the Two of Swords. This card says one person has been standing at an inner crossroad for longer than they wanted to admit. A part of them wanted to admit. A part of them wanted to stay protected, stay unreadable, stay in control. But another part has already grown tired of carrying emotion without direction. The Two of Swords is the moment before truth wins over fear. It is the pause before the heart finally says, enough. The next card appearing here is the Six of Cups. This is where memory becomes part of the conversation, because the feelings rising now are not random. They have history in them, sweetness in them. Echoes of moments that looked small on the outside but settled deeply inside the heart. This person may come into the conversation carrying memories they never truly let go of. The way you spoke, the way you looked at them, the feeling of ease between you. The next card appearing here is the Page of Pentacles. This tells me the conversation may begin in a simple way, not dramatic at first. It may begin with something small, practical, almost careful. A message that opens the door, a reason to meet, a sentence that sounds calm on the surface. But the Page of Pentacles says not to underestimate small beginnings. Sometimes the quietest opening carries the heaviest truth behind it. The next card appearing here is the King of Cups. Now the emotional depth becomes undeniable because this card says someone has been feeling far more than they have been revealing. They may have tried to stay composed, tried to stay measured, tried to keep their heart from becoming too visible, but the King of Cups is still deep water, and deep water cannot stay hidden forever when it is stirred enough. This person may already know that what they need to say is real feeling, and it has been real for some time. The next card appearing here is the Eight of Wands. This is where momentum builds. The silence may break quickly once it starts. One message may turn into a meeting. One sentence may unlock many more. The Eight of Wands says emotional truth has reached a point where it wants movement, not more delay. So if this face-to-face moment has felt like it was almost arriving, this card says the almost may be ending. The next card appearing here is the Five of Cups, and this adds emotional weight in a very human way, because part of what may be revealed in this conversation is regret. Regret for waiting too long, regret for not speaking sooner, regret for letting confusion or silence stretch across something that mattered deeply. The Five of Cups says this is not only a conversation about feeling, it may also be a conversation about loss, about what the heart has been grieving quietly while trying to stay composed. The final card appearing here is the Ace of Cups, and this is the blessing over everything. Because the Ace of Cups says the truth that finally comes out will not be empty, it will not be cold, it will not be distant. It will come from a heart that has been full for too long, a heart that wants to stop hiding behind tension and finally let what is real be seen. So the message of this part becomes very clear: prepare yourself, because this face-to-face conversation may carry more tenderness, more honesty, and more emotional depth than you expect. Someone may come to you looking calmer than they feel, but inside the heart may already be trembling with what it is about to release. There is one more layer here too. Part of what makes this meeting feel so important is that it may not only reveal feelings, it may reveal timing. The realization that the truth can no longer stay postponed without becoming painful. The realization that love, regret, longing, and memory have all been gathering in the same place. And now they want a voice. That is why this energy feels so alive. Because the conversation is being created by emotional necessity. And when a heart reaches emotional necessity, it stops waiting for a perfect script. It says what it has to say, even if the voice shakes, even if the eyes give it away first, even if the room becomes still around the truth. This conversation may do exactly that. It may open a door locked by fear, and once that door opens, everything unsaid may begin stepping through it. one truth after another. That is why your intuition may already be picking up on this moment before it arrives, because the energy knows something real is coming to the surface now. A deeper breath moves through this reading now, and this is the part where the truth no longer feels like something that can stay hidden in the background. It feels close, close like the air before a storm. But this storm is here to reveal. The first card appearing here is the Justice card. This says the coming conversation wants honesty more than anything else. No more half-truths. No more pretending that the bond is lighter than it is. Justice is the moment when someone understands that real feelings deserve clear words. So the person coming toward this face-to-face meeting may already know they cannot keep speaking around the truth. They have to meet it directly. The next card appearing here is the Knight of Pentacles. This is important because it tells me the meeting may not come through chaos. It may come through intention, a careful plan, a deliberate step, someone choosing the right moment because they know what needs to be said matters too much to be rushed carelessly. The Knight of Pentacles says this person may have been preparing inwardly for longer than you realize, thinking through the words, the timing, the way to approach without creating more confusion. The next card appearing here is the Queen of Cups. And this softens everything because no matter how serious the conversation becomes, tenderness will be present. Someone may be deeply aware of your feelings, deeply aware that what they say could touch your heart in a lasting way. So even if emotion runs high, there is care here, a desire not to wound, a desire to reveal truth with gentleness instead of force. The next card appearing here is the Three of Swords. Now the reading becomes more emotional because this card says pain may be part of what finally gets spoken, hurt, disappointment, the ache of what was not said when it should have been. This does not mean the conversation is doomed. It means it is real. Sometimes truth opens through tears before it opens through relief. Someone may admit that silence hurt, that distance hurt, that not knowing hurt. And once that pain is named, the bond may finally start breathing differently. The next card appearing here is the Lovers. This is what gives the whole exchange its meaning, because beneath everything else, there is love here, connection. Real emotional significance. The Lover says this is not just about clearing the air. It is about revealing what the heart has been carrying under the air. So when this conversation happens, it may not only explain the tension, it may reveal the love that caused the tension in the first place. The next card appearing here is the Ace of Swords. This is the breakthrough. The sentence that changes the room, the truth that once spoken cannot be taken back, but also no longer needs to hide. The Ace of Swords says there may be one very clear moment in this conversation where everything becomes sharp and undeniable. A confession, an admission, a direct statement that cuts through months of guessing in one breath. The final card appearing here is Temperance. And this is the blessing over the whole part because Temperance says the meeting is not only here to expose what was hidden, it is here to create balance again, to calm what has been emotionally shaken, to bring honesty where there was uncertainty. So even if tears rise, even if voices tremble, even if the truth lands heavily at first, healing may begin the moment the truth is finally allowed to stand. So the message of this part becomes very clear. Prepare your heart for a conversation that feels deeply human, not polished, not empty. Human, a meeting where hidden emotion may finally stop hiding. A meeting where what has been carried in silence may become spoken, felt, and understood in a new way. There is one more layer here too. Part of what may make this face-to-face moment so unforgettable is that it changes the emotional temperature between you. After it happens, even if everything is not solved at once, the connection may no longer feel trapped in fog. Something will have been named. Something will have been acknowledged. Something real will have stepped into the light. And sometimes that is the beginning of everything changing. Not because every answer arrives in 1 second, but because truth, once spoken, begins rearranging the heart around it. That is why the cards feel so steady here. This is not random. This is not a passing emotional wave. This is a threshold. Unseen person is nearing the point where keeping everything inside feels heavier than finally letting it out. And once they reach that point fully, the conversation may happen soon. And when it does, the eyes, the voice, the pauses, and the truth itself may all say more than either of you expected. Stay open, because the moment approaching may be one of those rare moments where silence ends and the heart finally gets to speak for itself. A more intimate wave moves through this reading now. And this is where the coming conversation stops feeling like a possibility and starts feeling like an arrival already forming in the unseen. Because when emotion has been carried for too long, the body begins to know before the voice does. The chest gets tight, the mind keeps returning. The silence stops feeling peaceful and starts feeling like pressure. That is the energy here. The first card appearing now is the Five of Wands. This card says there has been inner conflict behind the scenes. Someone may have been arguing with themselves for a long time. Speak or stay quiet. Tell the truth or protect the heart. Reach out or keep pretending the distance is easier to live with. The Five of Wands is not always outer drama. Sometimes it is the private storm of a person who feels too much and no longer knows how to carry it neatly. The next card appearing here is the Page of Cups. And this is so tender because it says that beneath all the tension, there is softness trying to come through, a simple truth, a vulnerable word. A message that may begin gently but carries much more feeling than it first reveals. The Page of Cups is the card of a heart that does not want to hide forever, even if it still trembles when the time comes to speak. The next card appearing here is the Nine of Pentacles. This card turns the light toward you. Your energy may feel composed, self-contained, and deeply valuable in this person's eyes. They may know they cannot come toward you carelessly. They may understand that your heart is not reached through confusion, performance, or emotional shortcuts. So part of why this conversation feels so charged is that they know they must come honestly, or not at all. The next card appearing here is the Knight of Swords. Now we see the shift because once the truth becomes too heavy to keep carrying, speed begins building. This person may go from hesitation to movement very quickly. What they have delayed for weeks or months may suddenly feel urgent in a single day. The Knight of Swords is the moment the mind says, enough. Speak, go, do not let this sit any longer. The next card appearing here is the Six of Cups. This says memory is still alive in the center of everything. There may be things they cannot forget, a tenderness that never fully left, a softness in your bond that kept returning to them even when they tried to focus elsewhere. The Six of Cups says this conversation may carry emotional history in it, not only present feeling. It may sound like someone finally admitting how much certain moments stayed with them and how much you stayed with them. The next card appearing here is the Queen of Swords. This is important because it says the truth wants clean language now. Not only tears, not only hints. Words clarity. The Queen of Swords does not circle forever. She names. She cuts through fog. So this face-to-face moment may include something very direct, a sentence that leaves no room for guessing afterward. A truth that finally stands upright in the room between you. The final card appearing here is the Ten of Cups. And this is the emotional heart of the whole part because it says the reason this conversation matters so much is not only because someone feels pain, longing, or regret. It matters because love is here too, real love. The wish for happiness, the wish for closeness that can last. The wish that what is finally spoken might not only clear the air, but open the door to something fuller, warmer, and more emotionally true than before. So the message of this part becomes very clear. Prepare for a face-to-face conversation that may carry trembling honesty, emotional memory, and the kind of truth that changes the feeling in the room the moment it is spoken. Someone may be arriving with more inside them than they first show, more love, more fear, more hope, more history. There is one more layer here too. Part of what makes this meeting so important is that it may reveal how long the heart has been trying to reach you without knowing how. Under the silence, there may have been longing. Under the distance, there may have been attachment. Under the calm exterior, there may have been a full emotional storm waiting for one safe moment to finally open. That safe moment may be getting very close now. And when it comes, you may feel it before the first real sentence even finishes, because truth has a weight of its own. It changes the eyes, the pauses, the air. This conversation may do exactly that. It may begin quietly, then turn deep. It may begin carefully, then become undeniable. Because once a heart reaches the point where silence hurts more than honesty, the truth does not want to hide any longer. It wants to be heard. It wants to be felt. It wants to stand between two people and finally be known. Nothing stays buried now. And now everything gathers into one living moment. And the final truth of this reading feels impossible to avoid. This face-to-face conversation is not arriving to confuse you. It is arriving to reveal, because there comes a point where the heart can no longer hide behind timing, distance, pride, or fear. It can no longer survive on glances, unfinished messages, and all the words that were almost spoken, but never fully set free. That is where this energy feels now. The first card appearing here is the Two of Cups. This card says the meeting will not happen in an empty emotional space. There is real feeling here, real connection, real tenderness that has lived under the surface for longer than either of you may have wanted to admit. So when the truth is finally spoken, it may not feel random. It may feel like something your spirit already knew was waiting to happen. The next card appearing here is the King of Cups. This tells me one person may come into this conversation carrying much more emotional depth than they have ever shown clearly before. They may still try to stay composed. They may still try to speak carefully, but the feeling underneath the words may be deep, steady, and impossible to fake. This is not shallow emotion. This is a heart that has already gone far enough to know the bond matters. The next card appearing here is the Ace of Swords, and this is where everything becomes clean. Because the Ace of Swords is the sentence that changes the room, the moment when guessing ends, the moment when silence can no longer protect anyone from what is real. So this conversation may include one very direct truth, one confession, one clear admission that suddenly makes the whole emotional story easier to understand. The next card appearing here is the Moon. This says the truth may come out with emotion attached to it, a shaking voice, a pause that says more than words, eyes that reveal what the mouth is still trying to organize. The Moon says hidden feeling has been heavy for too long, and once it starts rising, it may come with vulnerability. Fear may still be present, but truth will be stronger. The next card appearing here is the Six of Cups. This brings memory into the room. Someone may speak about what stayed with them, a moment they could not forget, the sweetness that kept returning, the emotional imprint that never truly left. This card says the conversation may carry tenderness from the past, not only pain from the silence. It may remind both hearts that the bond was always more meaningful than it looked from the outside. The next card appearing here is the Tower. And yes, this is the emotional release, not disaster. Release. The kind that